And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman. We speak to you about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to the spiritual and soon-to-be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you think this might be of interest to somebody, feel free to go ahead and share the content as well. So, I saw, believe it or not, in the New York Times of all places, a really interesting article about going solo, how to plan for retirement when you're on your own. And it piqued my curiosity. Diane Harris wrote the article. I'm going to quote from it. For Sarah Zeff Gerber, the aha moment came a few years ago as she listened to a friend recount all the tasks she was taking on to help her increasingly frail 91-year-old mother. Miss Gieber, now 74, realized that there was no obvious person to turn to if she and her husband needed a hand as they grew older. Who's going to do this for us, she wondered. The disquieting answer was no one. Solo aging, people growing older without reliable support from adult children or other relatives, has become increasingly common, largely because baby boomers and Gen Xers, by choice or circumstance, are childless at about twice the rate of previous generations. According to the AARP, about a third of people 50 and older now live alone and don't have children, are estranged from their children, or can't depend on them or other family members for help. Millions more, like Ms. Gieber, are married without children, will also eventually be on their own after a spouse dies. These solo agers face many of the same planning issues as older adults with children, figuring out how they will manage their future care, if their health falters, where they should live, and how to make their money last. But their different circumstances often warrant different solutions. The lack of an easily identifiable default person to step up if you need help means solo agers have to approach retirement planning with an extra layer of intentionality and urgency, said Rob Lyman, president of Johnson Lyman Wealth Advisors, a wealth management firm in Los Altos, California. If you're a solo ager or might be one day, experts recommend you begin thinking about your options as soon as possible. Okay, the article goes on to say, research shows that solo agers worry more than other older adults about who will help them as they age, whether their wishes regarding healthcare, money, and living arrangements will be honored, yet few have made plans to ensure their fears won't be realized. Only about 40%, for instance, have drawn up documents indicating who can make financial and medical decisions on their behalf and their preferences about the care they want if they become incapacitated. Fewer than 20% have made plans for continuing assistance. This is really, really interesting. It also means that solo agers, as they're called, have to get to work, right? I often talk about people, spouses with children, right, need to make wills. They need to write down in a notebook the names of their lawyers, their accountants, their financial advisors, and all the information so that their heirs can get access to those professionals, so that ultimately, the inheritance issues and what have you can move along smoothly. But just think, you're married, you're on a loan, you don't have any children. Forget about, who you're going to leave your money to. That's a big, big issue. But who's going to take care of you when you age? Where are you going to live? Who are you going to call at 2:00 in the morning, God forbid, if something happens to you? These are all issues that you need to think about. Now, I'm not going to provide all the answers right now. I'm not going to say, well, you should move to a community with other seniors or that has medical facilities, or, you've got a close relative should be your power of attorney. I'm not going to, that's not the point of this, right? There's 1,000 different answers. And I think a lot of those answers are personal depending on your relationship with certain people. Could be with family members, extended family members, you might have a good friend, whatever, a spouse, whatever it is. Each situation needs to be looked at on its own individual and special merits. There's no one-size-fits-all solution that you can pull off the shelf in this issue. I want you to start thinking about these issues if this applies to you, right? Who are you going to lean on if there's medical issues? Even if you have to stay overnight in the hospital, you have to be driven home. Who are you going to call, right? I'm not even talking about, right, when you're older and you have to make that, 2:00 in the morning, somebody's got to take you to the hospital. What are you going to do? Who is going to be able to make medical decisions on your behalf if you become incapacitated? Who is going to make financial decisions for you on your behalf if you become incapacitated? Those are huge issues, right? Let's say you're on your own. Let's say you're married and then you're widowed. You become a widow or a widower. You don't have any children. who's going to make those decisions for you if you become incapacitated, right? And that's when you really need the money to work for you. So start thinking about it. Don't let this slide. This was a really timely article. I see it a lot. I have a lot of people that I know. I've got a lot of clients who sort of fall into this rubric. And it's important sooner rather than later to meet these issues head on and make some hard decisions. You can always change the decisions that you make, right? You're not locked in forever to whoever you pick as X, Y, and Z. You can change that. But it's really important to do so. I know somebody, I was reading about it. I sort of tangentially know them. But I was speaking to somebody, and this particular person has millions and millions of dollars. This article spoke about being estranged from their family. They are estranged from their family, and they don't have any beneficiaries on their accounts. Not only that, I think they are American citizens, but they've been living outside the United States for 30 or 40 years in Europe somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what he told me. This was a state planner that we were just speaking about, sort of trading war stories, so to speak. Now, God forbid, if this person were to pass, what's going to happen to all of that money? It's like $5 or $6 million. What's going to happen to it? Who's going to get their hands on it? Who's even going to step up and start running through the probate process? You got to take these issues really, really seriously and figure out solutions. They can be short-term solutions, and then you can work on a longer-term solution, but you've got to pick a solution, right? So think about that. Solo aging is difficult, and there are difficult issues that have to be thought about. You've been tuning into the Aaron Katzman Show. We speak about your life, your money, and your investments. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.